Hey, happy day. So, something interesting has come up in that I did the reading and I was preparing uh, to do this video and write down what uh, was important to perhaps share, and it evolved into something else. So, bear with me and we'll go there. Let me take you by the hand. So, the main themes that I'm dealing with, again, it has to do with reflection and then release and resolution. And I'd like to just quickly break up the words release and resolution. So they release, resolution, and so with those things is what are we wanting? It's like having a house. Are you happy in the house you're staying or the place you're staying? Do you need to perhaps terminate your lease, or do you need to renegotiate your lease, or do you need to sign a new lease, or do you need to review with new eyes, see your lease in a different light? Are the terms and conditions adequate to your means? So if you can see life in that regard, and then resolution, it's how can you find new answers to the same problems we've been encountering. So, um, I the word I keep seeing the word cherish. There are a few words that in over a period of time they keep popping up, and cherish is one of them. And then kind of I hear like uh, cherub and chivalry, so words chic that sound in the same vein. And cherish means to protect and care for lovingly. It means to hold dear, keep hope or ambition in one's mind. So, and chillum was another word that came up in relation to those. But cherish is the most important one. And also the concept of what is our state of being. So, if we were a state, how do we self govern independently, but yet we're part of a state of a nation of states? So, to consider your state of being in that light. So you are being within that state, and how are the economics and the politics and the uh, social community, everything, the mores, the values of that state. How are you within that? And are you happy with your state? And do you need to change states? And do you need to modify things in your state? Do you need a complete change of state? So there's the sense of a new dawn and opening our arms to the sunrise. There's a sunrise phase going on. We are moving, it's the dawn of the new phase. I referred to it in yesterday's video, but it really is the beginning phase of the new stage of our lives, that we really are writing the introduction to the new book. It's not even a new chapter anymore. We wrote the last chapter, we wrote the end, we closed the book. It's even on the shelf and we book ended it. And now we have opened up a new book, and we're holding a new pen, or we are sitting in front of a new laptop with a brand new Word document or whatever tool you use, but you get the concept. So we've got this completely new either attitude or landscape or people or resources available to really take a divergent course that will lead us more in the direction that aligns our heart, our heads, and our bodies, excuse me, with our mission and our purpose that we are here to fulfill. So, what came up, interestingly enough, is, so just talking about endings, so closure came up. I love it when the B comes up, because that's about the work suit and represents expression of yourself. and through action and realizing your dreams. And you cannot manifest abundance without action, and you can't realize your dreams, which is your abundance, your treasure, without taking action. So that is necessary. We are in a state of pause because there's no point just taking action if we're not going to take corrective or truly functional, proactive action. So save your energies, compile yourself, and whilst you're doing that, you are then ready and waiting for when everything is placed to be able to, when the start gun hits, you can get going. Everything's in order. You prepared as much as you can. You really just have a moment to collect your thoughts and remind yourself that you've already proven yourself in order to get this far, and you have everything it takes, and everything you need is falling into place in order for you to win this race. And you are the champion. It's inevitable that you'll be. Why not? Why would success not be the obvious end when everything you have done has been a commitment and an intention towards that commitment and that outcome? And what happened is the race, what you started out, well, in order to get here, you thought that you were running 200 meters, but it turned out that it was a race of all sorts, and you were actually a competitor who could not only do 200 meters but 500 meters. You even did hurdles and high jump and shot put, so you were capable of much more because you learned, yeah, you were following your interests, but little bit. Now you can put it all together. This is what we're doing now. We're taking all the strands and we're busy weaving that magic carpet we're going to fly on. So there's closure, and I love this because it works together with the closure card as it's intended. It is the page of swords, and swords is about, we've been talking about realizing and seeing things differently, and swords is about cutting through the bullshit and having clarity. And perhaps we are taking a leap of faith. We are willing to learn something new, and it's a fine line. If we're not willing to learn something, perhaps we'll fall. But in the case where we have the faith, what we'll discover is that we have, again, what we need to help us rise. We're uplifted. We won't sink. We know how to swim. We've learned how to swim. So again, yesterday there were 3 4s in the reading. I've been seeing 4s and 7s and 1s and 8s in those combos and multiples. So 4 again, and like I said, it's time to just be in our own world and get in touch with what it is we want, wish, desire, and hope for, what will lighten our way and our hearts and warm our hearts. So very interesting. And it's another sword. Actually, I didn't notice, but so they're 2 swords. So again, it's about that clarity and reflection and review and releasing and realizing things. And the 5 of who or what are you called to love, and 5 is about standing still and really finding the center of your compass points. And I'll do a helpful picture that talks about, I had beautiful insight it started in the reading yesterday, but I was able to finish formulating the whole concept of, I'll just share it with you now. So you have a north and a south and an east and a west, and your north is your higher self, your south is your lower self, your west is your old self, and your east is your new self. So your old self will be dominated by the masculine, and the new self will be dominated by the feminine, as in we are always conceptualizing, as in wombing and entombing and birthing a new self. And the old self is the masculine, because the masculine is often chaos, and the new self is a dancing star. Nietzsche says a dancing star is birthed in chaos. So I want to move along to talk about what came up that was very interesting was the twin flame. I have not spoken about this very openly, certainly not in my videos. I've alluded to it. Parties in real life who are involved, no, it's a not very well kept secret, but that's not the point. I have inherently, all along, on the twin flame journey, not necessarily personally subscribe to the external. I have chosen to within this journey and to make it about my inner masculine and feminine, and simply use the external experience of all the different aspects of that journey in order to understand my inner masculine forces and my inner feminine forces. And I had to work a lot on developing, well, many of us, the divine feminines, had to work on grace and a lot of womb healing and a lot of the generational traumas caused by the masculine, the control and the hurt and harm still to this day. But I'm referring to the hunting of the witches and Mary Magdalene being the prostitute, yet she was the chosen partner of Jesus. And so we hold the man in high esteem, Adam and Eve is the sinner. She gave Adam. So we have been healing those traumas for a very long time and shifting out of that submissive, being controlled energy, an accessory. And we are leveling up. But I wanted to say up with men, except that it's not. We have leveled up to a level that is now asking men to level up, in that so many relationships have disintegrated and fallen apart. And I'm seeing the last, I'm seeing the last batch now where before it was women being left by men. Now it's women leaving men and the men being resistant. So the runner and chaser dynamic has changed, but so too within ourselves, in that we in the feminine have become more less of the chaser, and I think the masculine has become less of the runner, because that seems to have mostly been the dynamic from what I understand in the greater whole. And over the last 6 years since it came into my frame of reference, and all my talks with many people who believe to be on this journey, and how our stories have been paralleled all along. So not only online with what I've followed, but certainly in my personal life, I've interacted and had many conversations, and I have many relationships, again, with in this field of interest, but I haven't spoken about it publicly at all because it's been a very private journey for me. Like I say, for me, it's been almost a spiritual journey, a God journey. It's not something I need to go out and necessarily almost Hare Krishna style go through the streets chanting and clapping. I communicated or did what I believed was necessary uh, in whatever situations, but always honoring and respecting my journey first, and doing what I needed to do to make sure I was always in integrity with myself and aware of the healing I needed to be doing. And so what came up in today's so this twin flame thing, I started to write. I write often. When I write intuitively, it comes up quite poetically. So I love that, because I just seem to go into a flow and I write. I don't even think. It's beautiful. I love doing it. So that's why I do it. And so I've heard a divine masculine. I was chatting to one yesterday, and he was talking about his twin flame journey and the situations and energy he's experiencing and the situation he finds himself in. And this word, again, like I said, the words that come up repeatedly, and then I need to pay attention. And so in this regard, with the twin flame journey and the divine masculine, they are in a phase of what seems to be seeking. So they seem to have a duality experience going on. It's almost like a good and evil. They have a choice between two things, and they don't really know what to choose. And it's, yes, so there's this state of a little bit of conflict. So what I loved is when you take the word seeking and you break it up, it becomes king. And so from that, this whole thing flowed. So I'll read to you what the poetic verse that came up to represent the divine masculine's energy. It says, "What are you not seeing, my king? What is the source of your dethroning?" Because I had an image of a knight on his steed in the Rapunzel story fighting through all these brambles, these rose brambles, because he's trying to get to the tower where Rapunzel is. He can see her from the distance, but he didn't realize when he saw her over there that he had to get through all of this landscape. So it says, "Which thorny rose has you snared and entangled?" So instead of being able to get to Rapunzel, you're being caught up in, maybe you stopped to smell the roses, but now as you were walking through, you got caught up in all the brambles of it. So you lost a bit of focus on Rapunzel over there, busy trying to fight your way through whatever's going on here now, stopping you from reaching your longing Rapunzel. Two to choose, chew on shoes. That was a little bit of a Dr. Seuss moment, because it's like a bit like chewing on leather. That's how the situation feels at this time. Eat your hat. Maybe you need to eat your words. Maybe you regret things you've said. Maybe you have not spoken your truth. I think not, but beware, there will be snot. Again, we stay with Dr. Seuss' theme. But perhaps you ought to give it a fair shot. Why not? So that was the message for the divine masculine. And then for the divine feminine, the energies I'm aware of amongst the women I know who talk to me about their journey and their experiences, the following comes up. Enough. The line is being drawn. No more waiting in vain. And I hear Bob Marley song about waiting in vain. We don't want to wait in vain for your love. Or I don't want to wait in vain for your love. Yes, that's what came to mind. It says where the vein is groaning and croning, meaning the idea behind that, I think, was, we realize shit, where time is wasting, we're just getting older, and the where the crow has been turning for so long, just blowing in the wind, and we haven't really been paying attention to the direction that it's been pointing in. So it says, and we, sorry, it's smudged, I'm left-handed, so as I write, the ink smudges. That's why my hands always have black on them here. And we must tend to the heather in all types of weather, meaning we shouldn't be neglecting or never neglect our own needs and our own wants for what we believe is an external validation or confirmation, or or for external love and acceptance and forgiveness. There are dirty mobs and bountiful crops that need tending, and sheep that require fending, because we do have to fight our own battles, and clothes that bear mending, and bear is spelt naked, in the way that would be synonymous with naked, because we need to continue to do our own healing. The healing we've been doing, it served us, and yes, we've come very far. And yes, let's keep going. Let's keep raising that bar. For to lie awake at night would only show us that fate and destiny look bright. So don't get a fright when in daylight love comes knocking on your door. And so there's very much the sense of, if you are too busy spending time suffering in your head with non-real things and fantasies and what have you. Fantasies are good, but know how to act in real life, as in continue to do you, boo. And make sure that the fantasies in your head are not distracting you, not spending time weeping and crying and lying awake at night and in your own alone time feeling unwanted, neglected, abandoned. Um, yes, so rather uh, trust that you have your love is great enough. It's great enough for you to be loving enough for you to be self caring and self serving first. And then there's enough love to be forgiving of people's behaviors. We can never judge people, we can only judge their behavior. And so we can be forgiving of behaviors, but we can also be intolerant, saying, again, raise the bar. We no longer accept less than. The pussy is there, the pussy is willy, all pussy is willing, wanting, and able, and all dick is the same. The thing is that no, it shouldn't be a game. Again, just intuiting. I love it when it's the poetry, it just flows. So it's not a game. What we need to start doing is, instead of just meeting each other at carnal pleasure level, can we start meeting on all three, head, heart, and um, body? It's mind, heart, and body that we need to, spirit is the sum total of us, our emotional, mental, and physical state of beings. It's our essence, it's the breath of life and the energy that you bring to things. And just because things are not happening the way you want them to or wish they would, I don't see why you should succumb, which was the theme from the other day. The videos should be further down below. Don't succumb to negative aspects. Things are not happening to you. As in, when you are having thoughts, I was having a chat conversation with a fellow yesterday evening, and I know that he's really struggling with depression, and he has a lot of mental anguish and suffering. And what I was trying to explain to him is, you're standing here in my kitchen, leaning against the counter, facing me. We are having a conversation and talking, but in your head, you have a perception of suffering because your ex-girlfriend doesn't love you, or your parents don't accept you for who you are, or don't support you in what you want to do. So you feel in a state of suffering. But I'm calling bullshit, dude, because actually right now you're standing here talking to me and we're having a conversation, and it's raining and the cat's brushing herself up against your leg. So all your thoughts have actually nothing to do with reality, what's going on here and now, the tangible. And that's what people need to wake up to. Your suffering is illusionary, and it has nothing to do with what's going on here and now. So we start fighting with people, we get angry with people in our projections, and we cause chaos and we cause conflict, when actually that person they're innocent. They didn't even know they were part of your mental war. And we often operate like that. So instead of understanding that we are at mental war, we're lashing out at people with our swords, our words, and our the magic of the swords, which is our words. It's words, swords is words without the S. In fact, I'm going to write that down because it's fucking brilliant. Anyway, I do amaze myself. And the S's that on both ends of those, if I cross them off, look like dollar signs, but before I cross them off, they look like snakes. So it's about snakes in the grass and dollar signs. So are you playing to the snakes in the grass, or are you playing to the dollar sign, which is you being actively engaged in constructing a beautiful reality, which is how you live your actual daily life, what you do in your daily life, how functional are you, and how much joy and pleasure and happiness and bliss does your functioning in your living and your life bring you. And very long, big message. And that was me being very vulnerable and authentic and transparent. So thank you for your appreciation and your acceptance and your love. Namaste. In Lakesh. Happy day.